Yes, okay. You can record. You can proceed. It's recording now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that if I can kindly ask all the participants just to make sure their mics are switched off so we have no interference. But if you have any questions, feel free to turn the mic on and ask away. Okay, brilliant. Let's start. So we'll start off with the numbers in terms of your exams. So you'll have 2 hours to achieve 50 marks on the whole IGCSE paper. So this gives you 120 minutes. If we're from hours to minutes, broken down, 120 minutes. So in that, you should allow yourself to have 2 minutes per mark, giving you 100 minutes total on the questions. Just reading through all the questions throughout the whole paper and highlighting any important points that come up. At the end, you'll have about 5 minutes left for proofreading and checking, and that will total you to 120 minutes, so the full 2 hours. So in practice, question 1 of the exam would be worth 20 marks. So by you having 2 minutes per mark, this will equate to 40 minutes should be spent maximum on question 1. Question 2 is 10 marks. So again, 20 minutes per question. 20 minutes for question 2, as it's 2 minutes per mark. If you have extra time, also highlighted that you will have, for example, 5 minutes extra in question 2 and 10 minutes extra in question 1. Question 3A is 15 marks. So you'll have 30 minutes to do that question. And if you have extra time, you'll have 35 minutes. Question 3B is only 5 marks. So try not to go over 10 minutes for that question. So the strategy for the question 3A is to start off with that. Why we say start off with question 3 is because it's the most straightforward question. It only tests your understanding and summary writing skills. And it's also a shorter source text. So you might be able to get yourself more time for question 1 and 2. All the marks on the paper count equally. So it's easier marks to achieve. More of them make this a good strategy. So by starting off with the easier question, you might be able to buy yourself time, and then again, you'll have a bit extra time if you need for the other questions. So before entering your exam, you need to understand and remember your types of questions. By doing this, you'll feel more confident in answering the question. So we have AO1, which shows detailed knowledge of the content of literary texts in 3 forms: drama, poetry, and prose, supported by referencing. AO2 is understanding the meanings of literary texts and their content and their context, and exploring texts beyond the surface to show deeper awareness and ideas and attitudes. AO3 is recognizing and appreciating ways in which writers use language, structure, and form to create shape, meaning, and effects. And AO4 is communicating a sensitive and informed personal response to the literary text. So AO1 and AO2 are the lower band questions, which don't require quantity, but rather the content. So you need to focus more on what you're writing rather than how much you're writing. AO3 and AO4 require quality and are giver mark questions. So effective planning. Everyone has their different ways of planning for an exam, but I'm gonna give you a few of my tips that I use personally for successful planning. But I wanted to ask, do any of you have any particular, ways that you plan? If any of you want to take your mic off, just say your point. What do you do to help yourself plan for an exam or a question? Can I ask Christian if he would like to give his answer? What do you do?
To prepare for a exam, you said.
Yeah,
Well, I would gather certain structures, I guess, and
brilliant.
quotations and string
Yeah,
stuff together on and improvise slightly, of course.
amazing. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. That's a really good tip. What about Amara? What do you do to help you plan for the exam or a question even? Amara, can you hear us, Amara? Lewis, do you want to give a point of what you do to help you plan? I feel we have some shy members of the group. There's no worries. We'll go on to my personal tips. Oh, Lewis, your mic is off. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry about that, Lewis.
Um, Not sure.
Not sure? Okay, brilliant. Well, we can go on to my personal points that I use for effective planning. So what I like to do is use mind maps. Mind maps really help, especially if you feel like you might be a visual learner. Mind maps really help you engage with those specific points and helping you plan for particular questions or even the exam in general. Can be topics or if you're doing practice questions. Also structuring your answer. Having structure of knowing how to write the answer really, really helps. And highlighting the text. This is something that people don't always do, but it makes such a big difference. Just highlighting keywords and key points so that you remember what you need to do and what exactly needs to be answered. Skill is really, really important to have, not only for revision and exams, but it's so important to have your eye on and to get to grips with during exam and revision periods. So if you don't know where to start, my top 3 tips to improve your time management is to start off by identifying your goals. From that, you can create a study plan, and it's totally normal for all of us to have distractions. At the end of the day, we are human, but you need to know exactly how to deal with them. So, for example, if you're living in a house and you have siblings, especially younger ones, they might be quite noisy and they might come into your room. But how you can overcome that, sometimes what some people do is they'll write a note and stick it on their door, just to remind people in the house that I'm preparing for an exam or I'm doing something important. Please don't come in and disturb me. yeah, so that's just an example, but always don't dampen your mood or don't feel down if you feel like you're having distractions. Just learn how to deal with them. How an essay plan should look. So you should start off with the introduction. Outline key similarities and differences between the poems. Paragraph 1, you should link the poems at the start, showing what they have in common. Paragraph 2 is continue your analysis by looking at the difference in the poems. Paragraph 3, focus on the detail to develop the similarity and the differences. Paragraph 4, comment on the structure. In paragraph 5, comment on the language, similarities and differences. And then you conclude, you come to a summary of all the arguments you've made. This is really important not to forget when you're doing an essay. And some people, so your essay should not be structured just as introduction, one paragraph where you write about what happens in the poem 1, and a paragraph where you write about what happens in poem 2, and then you just conclude with what similarities and differences. This is not a good essay structure because you forget vital points. And I think also what happens is people forget that they need to write in paragraphs. You know, always for each point that you have, separate it, put it in a different paragraph. Like we said previously, it's really good to have this sort of structure. 5 paragraphs, they don't need to be so long. And then an introduction and a conclusion. So AO1 questions, you analyze. So you separate information into components and identify their characteristics. AO2, you discuss. So you present key points about different ideas or strengths and weaknesses of an idea. In AO3, you compare and contrast. So you identify similarities and differences. And AO4 is examining and exploring. So you investigate closely and investigate without preconceptions about the outcome. So command words that you should really keep your eye out for and what that you should understand. So describe basically means to state the points of a topic, giving characteristics and main features. Explain, so setting out purpose/reason. Make relationships between things using evidence to support your points. Another command word is give. So you produce an answer from a given source or recall a memory. And finally, identify. Name, select, or recognize. Do not examine or detail reasons. Just pull them out. So in the exam, these words are really important. Always remember to highlight them so you know exactly how to answer the question. So let's look at some past papers to kind of put it into perspective. So here we have 1 question and 2 and 3. So if you see, you need to annotate these questions. What are they asking you to do? So look exactly, it's saying what you should be looking at in this question. This is really important to highlight. And also 3 words. Don't go over because the question is only worth 3 marks. So just focus on 3 specific words and describe the sounds made by the fire in this question. That's what they're asking for. So really focus on what they're asking for. Don't go too much. Like, don't go over the 3 points because you're only going to get 3 marks. So you'll be wasting time if you look for too many. In the second question, we have describe. So it's really important. This is telling you how they want you to answer the question. and the character of Jenny. So sometimes they, in the passage, for example, they might have two different characters. Let's say, for example, John and Jenny, but they really want you to focus only on Jenny. Don't, if you go on to other characters, you may not get the marks because they are only asking about Jenny. And in question 3, it says how. This is really important. Command word, how. And to create interest and suspense. These are 2 really important words that you should, take into consideration when answering your question. So, what makes your marks go up? In the questions that are worth more marks, so for example, if they're worth 15 to 25 marks, 5 marks are purely based on your grammar. So this is what also can be known as SPAG. SPAG stands for spelling, grammar, and punctuation. And it's really crucial that we try and achieve these extra 5 marks, because that can be the difference if you're on borderline C, going on B, borderline B, on a C, and then borderline A if you're on a B. Those 5 marks can be the difference of achieving those really good grades. And losing out can be so disappointing for you. So, and it's really easy marks. So really focus on your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So some do's and don'ts for going into your exam. So some do's, we'll start off with them. Always go in with a clear frame of mind. If you're stressing, your thoughts aren't going to be with you exactly, and you'll overthink. And that is not going to help you in answering the exam questions sufficiently. It's really important. Go with a clear frame of mind. If you've put in the work in, you know that you will get a good grade, but just go with a clear frame of mind and then take it from there. Also, it's really important to take additional stationery with you, because sometimes your pen might run out of ink and you don't want to be stressing to find another one in the middle of an exam, because you can't do that. So it's going to be really difficult to continue, and you will also end up stressing and it won't benefit you. So always have extra stationery. Take a rubber if you need. Highlighters, really important. So you could, take out key points in the exam question. And if you need a rubber, take additional stationery, really important. Also, spend 5 to 10 minutes just for planning. This will help you answer the exam question a lot quicker as well. If you have a plan in place, it will really help you do that. And also always proofread your work, because obviously in the exam you're to quite quickly, and allow you to remember that. So really also proofread your work. And that's why we say all 15 exam, beginning, 5 minutes at the end to go through it again, everything you've written, really, really important. And also, practice makes perfect. So you putting the work in, doing past exam papers, going over specific topics is really, really, really going to help skills for the exam. Also, what you shouldn't do is never focus on writing a lot within your answer. Like we said before, quality over quantity. Some questions are really only worth, let's say, for example, 3 marks. They want you to make 3 points. They want you to get to your point. They don't want you to write a long, go off topic. They really just want to see the quality over quantity. Also, it's really important to get a good night's sleep before your exam. This will help focus and help keep your mind. If you're staying all night trying to cram in all of your, it's not going to help you. If anything, it will affect your potential to reach your highest ability. And important breakfast is don't rush at the end of your exam. You know, rushing means you're not gonna get in essential facts and make essential points that you need to in the exam for answering the question. But that's why we say always divide your questions into time. Like keep your eye on the clock and make sure you don't go over the aimed time. Going under, if you have a bit of extra from, let's say, an easier question that you've managed to answer a lot quicker, you can then substitute that and put it in that extra time for another question that maybe you're finding a bit harder. Also, start off by skim reading through all the questions and the text. And, you shouldn't skim read through the questions and the text because you might miss really, really, really important points. So always take your time in reading and understanding what is being asked of you and what, for example, the text or passage is saying. You know, like we said before, highlight really key command words and important points. And always think when you're writing the exam, think of the examiner or the person marking the work as a complete stranger who has no idea what the exam paper is and what the answers are. You know, this is why you should put as much detail in your answers as possible, but again, quality over quantity. So put a lot of detail, but get to your point. So past paper, this question is worth 15 marks. As you can see, the bold writing, 5 marks are for the quality of your writing. So if you read the question, it starts with imagine and write a letter. These are really 2 important points that should not be gone. It will tell you how to answer the question. And on the side here, I have an answer. The answer booklet. So it's saying the most successful responses will be written in a convincingly informal style with a clear focus on the need to engage and describe. This can be gathered, this point can be gathered from where they say, write a letter. Okay, write a letter. When you're writing a letter, especially here where it says to your sister, your relationship with your sister is an informal relationship. So you will write the letter in that way. So always remember to get these key points out so you know how to answer the question. Again, this is when you work smart. Don't miss those 5 crucial marks on your SPAG, your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. This can be the difference between you getting a C and you getting a B. Like, it's so important. Don't miss out on those marks. And again, like I said before, in that passage, in the answer booklet, the key word was informal. And we got the question where they said, write a letter to your sister. So what you should focus on is what is your content, who is your audience, what is the purpose, and what are you required to include? And this can all be taken from the question what they've written for you. So you need to understand where your 10 marks are coming from and where your 5 marks are coming from. On the left, we have the marks for the content. And on the right, we have the marks for the quality. So the marks for the content, you really want to be aiming for band 3 and above. So you need to go in aiming for these high grades and hope you will get them. So here, for example, let's go with band 2. It says, refers to several details from the passage and shows some awareness of the problems caused by the snow and some references to how they coped. To address all bullet points by development may be limited. Band 2, again, for the quality. Sentences are correct, though relatively simple. Vocabulary is adequate and correctly used. Structure is generally sound. Sum of the register is appropriate. So although you won't be getting full marks, it shows how easy it is to achieve those high marks. You know, for example, the quality, band 2, sentences are correct, though relatively simple. So you can still have simple sentences, but as long as they're correct, you're still able to get those high bands, get those marks. You know, it's easy marks that you can get to help you achieve those high grades. And like I said before, we really want to be aiming for band 3 and above. Don't try not to aim low, because the higher you aim, obviously the higher you will get. So I can't stress this enough. Spelling, punctuation, and grammar is so, so important. It's easy marks that can help you achieve high grades. So in this example, top tips are to read the passage carefully. Although it might look like a lot, just read through it, take your time, you know, see the important points that are being made. Once you've read through the passage carefully, have a read of the question relevant to the passage, and then reread the passage and highlight any relevant information that is needed for the question you are answering. So the steps. Step 1 is read. Read the passage once through. Step 2 are keywords. So read the question so that you know what information you are looking for, and then number 3 bullet points in the question. So highlight the important information. So step 3, identify. So like I said, highlight, then number each piece of information you find relates to each bullet point. Count them up. Try and find 5 details in the text for each bullet point. That will really help you gain the marks. Step 4, use your own words. Now transfer that information you have found into a plan in your own words, ensuring you cover all 3 bullet points equally. Step 5, write. So pay close attention to the style you need to write in. Like we saw before, they were asking for a letter in informal style. So really focus on what the question is asking you, what style you need to write in. You need to create a voice for your character to be adventurous with your vocabulary. It's really important to explore your imagination. Don't be shy. Really, really be adventurous with your vocabulary that you use. And step 6, check. Keep checking. Your writing must be fluent and must make sense and have good spelling and punctuation. Check that you have covered all of the bullet points. So here in question 1, it completely starts off and it's even bold, using your own words. And this is really key when answering a question. It is so important that you don't copy and in fact you change your words when answering. So students lose marks here because they just copy what is written in the passage, and then they lose marks because they've been specifically asked to use their own words. And it can be as simple as changing the word or the phrase from sunny day to clear sky. That's how easy it is, but really essential to do. And also see where it's highlighted to. Don't forget, this is a 2-part answer. Especially if you see in the question, the "and" is put in bold. So they really want to show you that's 2-part answer. And it's always good to check on the side where I've highlighted, just in case you don't realize, just make sure that you know whether it's a 1-part or 2-part. And this shows that's a 2-part. Part A of the question needs to be short and sweet. does not require so much detail, just simply quality. It is simply phrased into a difficult question. It's really easy to do. They're just trying to put you off track, but don't let them do that. And then in part B, again, use put for you. So remember, quality over quantity. Don't include everything, include 2 worthy points. As you notice with all these questions, they're only worth between 1 to 3 marks, no more. This shows that it's a clear AO1 question and that it is obvious that it does not require more than 2 minutes focus per question. Try not to go over that. Really just get to your point. So what you should do is work in order. Don't mix the order of the words above. You should go in and read and reread the full sentence to get a clearer understanding. If you're not 100% sure on the answer, have a guess, but you should never leave a question unanswered. Create your own understanding. At the end of the day, this is only a 3-mark question. So it's very unlikely that you will get 0 marks if you write something. You know, even if you feel like it might not be exactly correct, never leave a question unanswered. Reread the question if you need to, and try and help yourself understand it. Highlight key points. Then we move on to question II on the right here, and moving on to higher marks and AO2 or AO3 question, which not only requires understanding, but also basic examination and meaning. Notice now, the question is not asking you what they mean, but how they create meaning and effect. And that really shows where they ask you to explain. In that question, they've said explain. And, you know, in the area where they're giving you to write, they've highlighted the explanation. But really use that command word to your benefit, to help you answer the question. So this is from the answer booklet again, and the key points here. You should always refer to the whole quotation in your answer and not just the words underlined. That's for II. So you look at the difference between I and II. I, they've asked you word underlined, so meaning of the word underlined. However, when we go into II, they've asked for the explanation of the whole passage. So really make sure that you read carefully to know exactly how to answer. Also, again, the whole phrase, use it to your benefit. You know, see these little words that really help you answer the question. So explain how, you know, the quality of linguistic answers and showing your understanding. This is really important to achieve those high marks. Look at how simple the answers are for this question. Although it's 6 marks, the simplicity makes it easily reached. So you can really easily achieve these marks without putting so much effort as you think you might need. Really just focus on key points. So this whole section that we've been through is worth 20 marks. All those 1 mark and 2 markers make a total of 20 marks. Therefore, it's super important that every question is answered. Again, don't leave any of your answers blank. Like I said before, even if you don't fully understand, make sure that you don't leave it blank. The common mistakes students make are failure to answer the questions, and that could be as a result of not planning effectively. Again, rushing towards the end of the paper is going to essentially make you lose marks. This could be as a result of spending too long on the lower marks questions. Again, like we said, aim for 2 minutes per mark, no longer. So you trying to include everything you've learned in one answer is going to make you lose marks, spend more time on a question that doesn't need as much time, and that is as a result of not reading the question properly. So ensure that you really do read the question properly. And basic spelling mistakes or errors can be as a result of not giving yourself enough time to understand what the answer is requiring. And that can lose on those SPAG marks, on the spelling, punctuation, and grammar marks that are easily achievable. You could lose out on them. So really keep an eye out. And also panicking. If you're panicking, your mind is just going to be a mess and you won't be able to concentrate. You could lose on such essential marks and it won't be good for you. Try not to panic, keep a cool, calm mind, and you'll be able to get through it. So, challenging topics. In this question, from a previous exam paper, it's section 1, the directed writing. So again, here they're asking, write a letter to the head teacher this time, giving your views. So the question is, imagine that you are a parent of a teenager who attends a school which is considering starting the school day 2 hours later. Here they've told you, in your letter, you should consider the advantages and disadvantages of starting school later for children, parents, and the wider community. Explain, that's a really good word, command word. Explain the reasons why you agree or disagree with the later start for the school. And then you base your letter on what you have read in the passage, but be careful to use your own words. Address each of the bullet points. And they've told you here to begin your letter with "Dear Teacher," and only write maximum 300 words, 350 words. So about between 250 to 350 words. And here they've highlighted that up to 10 marks are available for your content of your answer and 15 marks for the quality of your writing. So when thinking of challenging topics, it's something students think that they don't understand, but when breaking it down, it's a lot simpler than expected. So let's have a look. So as we've just seen through this question, it's a higher marked question. And the key points in here that they've told you to do really direct you in how to answer the question. So notice how we've moved to 10 marks for your SPAG, for your SPAG, but your content too. So it's really important to show how much this is worth. And this is the band for the question. So we really want to be aiming, like I said before, band 3 and above. So as we can see, band 1 really gives a thorough, perceptive, convincing response, reads effectively between the lines, shows understanding by developing much of the reading material and assimilating it into a response to the task. So here they're really emphasizing that they didn't copy exactly what was written in the passage, in the material. They changed it into their own words. That's really important to do. And first thing, show how it tells you that you should imagine yourself as being the parent of the teenager. Or I know we're all teenagers ourselves, but really imagine yourself being in the position of a parent so you understand the way you need to write your answer. And again, look at this in bold. They've said, write a letter. So you have established your target audience, head teacher. So this needs to be a formal letter because you're directing it to the head teacher. In this, on these bullet points, it's telling you the basis of your writing. You have basically been given the first part of the plan. So common mistakes is that students forget to write in paragraphs and forget a successful conclusion or ending summarizing the points they've made. Hence is also you're writing as a parent, so don't forget to address it in first person. Also jumping from topic to topic rather than in chronological order. Rather than the petal of the question, the teenager, is also a mistake. So you need to have balance. So in this example question, we have we're going to be talking about the misinterpretations of the question. So passage B, playing Houdini, in the reading booklet, insert, and then answer question 3A and 3B. So question 3A says, according to passage B, what are the facts about Houdini and his life? So first thing to look for are facts about Houdini and the man. Sorry, the Houdini, the man. Label these as H1, H2, H3 when you're going through the passage. So you know exactly what facts you want to include in your answer. Also, his life highlighted here. Second thing you should look for. So the facts about his life, label these as L1, L2, L3. So you know that this is points that are to do with his life. And then it says you do not need to use your own words. That's really important to know. So if you don't need to use your own words, don't. It isn't an effective use of your time, especially if they've said that you specifically don't need to do. So sometimes some points may need rephrasing, but others won't. So be flexible. Also, write 1 point per line. So putting more than one fact per line will actually lose you marks. The examiner will think you cannot tell the difference between them. And they've specifically said, write 1 point per line. So you should always do as the question asks. Grade A candidates, so those candidates in the high bands, really understand and communicate complex information and select what is relevant. High level of accuracy in grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Again, they don't lose out on those easily achievable marks, the SPAG marks, and they understand and evaluate subtle facts and ideas and opinions. They present their material in clearly structured, sequenced, and detailed ways. They describe and analyze experience, expressing effectively what is felt and imagined. They recognize implicit meanings and attitudes of the writer and how they have been conveyed. They show a strong sense of audience and understanding of appropriate uses of language. And they write in well-constructed paragraphs using full range of sentence types and wide vocabulary. There's also been updates in the syllabus, which is really important to know. So you can spot the difference in each grading criteria with the required answer format. So here in level 6, 9 to 10 marks, you have content is complex, engaging, and effective. So again, articulate and express, create and express what is thought through the experience and felt and imagined. Here in level 5, we have structure is well managed with some choices made for deliberate effect. Organize and structure ideas and opinions for the effect to help you achieve those high levels. Again, use a range of vocabulary to be able to achieve those high levels. Use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures for deliberate effect. Use register appropriate for the context and addressing the right audience and explaining the themes. And also make accurate use of spelling, punctuation, and grammar. This will help you achieve those higher levels. And going back to what I mentioned before about PEAL paragraphs, this is really important acronyms. So PEAL stands for point, evidence, explanation, and link to question. So the point is where you clearly say what you're going to talk about or what you're trying to get to the readers, get the readers to understand. Then evidence is backing up your point with valid and appropriate quotes. Don't assume the examiner knows what you're talking about. It's really important to include your evidence to be able to achieve those marks. Again, like we said, pretend the examiner is someone who knows nothing about the topic and doesn't even know the question. Then explain. Explain to your reader the purpose for picking this quote. Explain it in your own words and try not to copy the quotation again. Then finish off with linking to the question. Always remember to refer back to the question and try not to lose track of what you're actually meant to be talking about. This is also applicable in your 0475 paper, which is literature also. So it's really important to try and remember this. The most appropriate format of an accurate PEAL system is using the quote in between your writing. Don't start your essay with the quote and don't finish it with the quote directly unless the question is directly asking you to do so. Having the quote in between your paragraph gives you the best advantage of explaining your point into more depth. So this is, for example, the moist pears. So the tone, this is an emotion that the author is feeling as they write. You can hear it in the language they've used. Hyperbole, extreme exaggeration, and is used to make a strong point. And emotive words creating emotion or showing a strong feeling in the reader. And then you have metaphor, onomatopoeia, imagery, simile, and themes. All these are important acronyms. Again, this is also applicable for your 0475 paper, which is literature. So we also have personification, enjambment, alliteration, repetition, rhyme, and structure. Really, really important. So, for example, personification, when animals or objects are said to have human characteristics. Then we move on to enjambment, which is when sentences run into the next line with no punctuation or pause between them. Alliteration, the repetition of one or more initial consonants in the group of words or lines of poetry. We have rhyme and repetition, when two or more words have the same sound. And structure, how is the poem organized? Remembering this technique will open up a new door for you. This includes every aspect of your literature paper, as I mentioned before. However, the advantage of it is that it can be used in your comprehension paper also. So for those of you that are doing English coursework paper, this will also allow you to gain easy marks in your SPAC and structure. So revising for your English language can be done in a number of ways. Different methods work for different people, so you need to try and figure out what is best for you. But using a terminology sheet, keyword sheet, and revising different language or structural techniques and how to spot them. Using the internet, you know, we're really lucky to have access to it. So use it, search for Mr. Buff English language on YouTube, and this will really help you help with your revision. You know, you can watch videos, make notes from it, and gain top tips for each question and create your own revision guide that will help you achieve that high level. Also, if you don't have one already, buy a revision guide. You could also purchase online versions if you can't get hold of a hard copy, and work through it in your spare time. And then practice papers are so important because they will help you understand how to answer the questions, and you'll get into the habit and know what to do on the day of the exam. And read. The best way to improve as a reader is to continue reading. Even if you're struggling in the beginning, just keep trying. And the more you try, the more you will improve. And if spelling, punctuation, and grammar is your biggest issue, then use a revision guide that helps you practice this. Also, reread the text in your own time and ensure that they're fresh in your mind. You know, specific texts that will come up in the exam that have been told to you that they would, reread them. Make sure you're familiar with them before the exam. And do wider reading. Set yourself apart from the crowd and researching and reading around the text. You know, this can be other people's theories or interpretations of text. Use Google. And then there are a great number of dedicated English literature websites. BBC Bitesize really focuses on the British curriculum, so the IGCSE and GCSE. And we also have Cliff Notes, Spark Notes, the Student Room. You know, all these different resources are all free and really good for you to get notes from. And practice, practice, practice. Like I said before, it's really important to do. You can download them from the Revision Board's website, AQA website. You can download them with the mark schemes, and it will just help you get into the habit of how the exam is going to be. So, apps that can support you with your English language. One is Fluent U. So it's a really, really good app that not only includes comprehension reading, but also allows you to gain an understanding through educational games. And it's not so boring. Also, Duolingo, most rated app on the App Store, completely free and allows you to complete daily quizzes. Grammar Up provides you with free audiobooks. If you can't be bothered to read one day, you want to change it up. Grammar Up provides you with audiobooks that you could listen to, but also sentence solving games to improve your vocabulary and grammatical side to the English language, which will really help you gain those SPAG marks. And these are some revision resources for paper 1. Section A, we have the reading. So question 1 is going to be identify and interpret. And like I said, search Mr. Buff on YouTube. I'll also put this in the chat so you guys can copy paste it. Or if you want to note it down quickly now, really, really good to do. We have Mr. Buff, we have extended, Mrs. Whelan, you know, question 2 for language, Mr. Buff, extended. All these people are really, really good to note down and to use. It's really easy access. Just go on YouTube, type their names and the link, and it will take you to what is necessary for each question. And paper 2, again, these revision resources from YouTube, really, really useful, separated into each question style, and for section B also. And yeah, that's all. Do any of you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Anything you want to add? If you don't want to take your mics off, you could always ask the questions in the chat. That's totally fine. If not, then I really wish you luck for your exams. Let's just see what's in the chat. Nope, thank you, great. I hope you guys found that useful, and we will make these links, really, you know, use these YouTube videos that you have easy access to.
Thank you, Maria, for your time and effort into the session.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So to all the students who joined today, thank you for joining as well. And so this is a taster program for the series of booster sessions that we plan to host. So what we plan to do is this is actually an exam prep course where it's a short-term course, so like 6 hours in total. And if you are interested, you can register with us for more exam preparation courses like this. And yes, so At the top, what we plan to do is focus on areas, focus on past paper questions where students struggle the most, where they have the most misconceptions, and prep them so that students can amp up their grades. So basically, our focus is to to help students get better grades. So yes, so and these lessons are personalized and they're one-to-one. So if you have any requirements, any assistance that you need, particularly on just on exams, you can always bring those up during the booster sessions. And our tutors hope to focus on practicing past papers with you, and past papers where you can score more marks, where you have to write a lot, and all those questions where the score where there's a lot of marks allocated. So so we will be focusing on preparing you to sit for those questions, face those questions, and tips to face those questions and strategies to tackle those questions. So that's the focus of this program. And if you wish to continue on these courses, on these programs, so your lessons will be one-to-one, just like the regular lessons we do. But this is mainly only on exams and for Cambridge IGCSE. And the subjects so far are for English, Maths, and the Coordinated Sciences. So if any of you guys are interested, you all can visit our website and register, which is www.tutopia.com, or you can connect through Facebook. So so if you're interested, you could definitely register with us, and we look forward to seeing you in future sessions. And once again, thank you, Maria. And I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you all, and good luck with your exams, and we hope that you join us soon. Thank you.